Hello crafty friends, working in my scrappy art journal today. Today I have absolutely no plan. I haven't taken anything out to use on this spread. I'm literally just using whatever is on my desk lying around, any bits of paper from a previous project, anything I can find. So I'm just starting off by doing a collaged background just with the bits of scrap paper. And I'm gluing this down with a glue stick. You may recognize the first paper that I was sticking down. It is from the paper pad that I used in card number 19 of Full Deck Challenge 2. I had not packed that away yet since I created that card, so it was lying around on my desk. I also found these really bright colored and interesting pieces from my Happy Scraps, and I was excited to be able to add these to my project. You really can use anything for this part, and it's a really great way to use little bits and bobs and odds and ends that you have that you might not use for another kind of project. So a good way to use it up and get it off your desk. Next up, I'm going to use my white gesso. If you know me, you know that I use this very, very often. But before I do that, some of the papers that are overlapping are not sticking down quite well, so I'm going to put a little bit of Mod Podge just underneath the flaps just to make sure that it's secure and it is not coming up. If you want more of a textured page, you could leave the corners and some of the overlapping bits sticking out. That is totally up to you. And now for the gesso, I'm starting by applying this with the brush. Again, I'm putting it sort of in the joins where the pages overlap. And then I also smudge it down a little bit with my finger. I'm going to leave some contrasting areas, some that are quite bright white and quite opaque, and I'm going to thin it out in other areas. I do this to create a really soft feel and to move everything into the background, and also to make everything blend one into the other, so it's one cohesive piece. Otherwise, I feel it is just pieces of paper that are stuck down. If we do this gesso technique, I think it blends everything nicely together, gives it a really soft, misty feel. And it also makes everything feel as one, not just jointed and uneven. I have left the bright pink on the bottom right hand corner from my Happy Scrap and that turquoise in the middle quite bright. I think it creates a good contrast with the light gesso. And I love that overall look. I'm going to dry the gesso layer really well, and then I'm going to add some texture to the background. I'm using watered down white acrylic paint in my Little Tip applicator bottle. I'm just doing some scribbles. I love doing scribbles with this technique, but you can most certainly write actual words if you prefer. These little bottles are quite inexpensive. I have found them for about $2 for a pack of 2 at the dollar store. They come in different qualities, some will leak and some are good, some are not so great. So it's just sort of a bit of trial and error, but these ones that I found recently work really well. They don't leak and they make great scribbles. Dry the acrylic paint really, really well, and then we're going to add another layer of color. I'm using my Tim Holtz Oxide inks here, but you can use even watered down acrylic paint or watercolor. I'm using it not as a spray, just in a liquid form. Just putting a few dabs at the top or the edge of each page, and then I'm using my spray bottle of water just to spray over, and I just let the ink run down and sort of do its own thing. It goes darker and lighter in some areas. If you wanted to move around a little bit, you can use a wet paintbrush, but let the color do its own thing. I'm now going to add a little bit more color, just in a dark bluey turquoise color, which will match some of the background colors that are shining through. I'm going to add this as a splatter, another technique that I use quite often and maybe too much in my projects, but I really love how it adds a little drop of color and great contrast. So I just water down the acrylic paint and then I just splatter over my artwork. I use a fan paintbrush. I've recently found it creates a more even sort of spray and keeps the droplets small. For my focal point, I want to use this feather that I recently colored with some acrylic markers. I have a video on that, and I also review the markers that are by Artex. I will put a link to that video in the description box below if you'd like to see it. So now I'm just trying to see if I need anything behind the feather, anything kind of additional collaging, but I've decided I'm just going to stick it down as is. But before I do that, I think it needs a little bit more color to balance out the pink on the right hand side. So I'm just going to use a bright pink Posca pen and just color the bottom part of the feather in the pink. And I'm also going to add a few little markings on the top of the feather just to balance out that color. And then I'm going to stick it down onto my page. I'm just using a clear craft glue. I'm also going to add a sentiment. I'm cutting up the sentiment. It is 4 words long, so I'm going to cut each word separately and stick it down, staggered down the stem part of the feather. A little bit more of the pink marker to make some markings on the top left part of the page, sort of on the feather, and the same markings coming off the feather onto the page. I really hope you enjoyed this art journal page, and I hope you're inspired to create your own. I would really love if you subscribed to my channel. I have lots more videos like this coming your way, including junk journals and making your own ephemera and a lot of mixed media. When you subscribe, also hit the little bell so you're notified every time I upload new content. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again soon. Bye.